Good morning, Alex Answer here. It is February 6th in the year 2019. In this video, I will cover a number of different stories that are taking place right now. Some of them interconnect, some of them do not. I'm going to go over the very basics of these stories in probably less than 10 minutes. Putin quits missile treaty with the United States in quid pro quo with Trump. Russian leader pledges to not station new weapons in Europe until similar U.S. weapons appear. Russia is abandoning a key missile treaty the day after the United States said it is suspending participation, renewing concerns about a nuclear arms race between the two countries. Putin says, quote, "We will respond quid pro quo. They have announced they will conduct research and development, and we will act accordingly." So you're going to be hearing more about this. Instead of break up the videos into separate titles, we're all going to put this on one video. Let's talk briefly about the world of TI, targeted individuals. Lasers could beam messages directly into listeners' ear like whispering secrets from afar, scientists say. It's hoped the technology could one day be used for headphone-free TV watching without disturbing others or warning people of danger discreetly in situations like an active shooter attack. Okay? So we're getting kind of an idea. Let's take a look at the visual here. Alrighty then. And yes, it is Chinese New Year, by the way. Happy New Year. So, as we look at the article here, I'm going to be brief with my commentary on the news. I'm going to get through the news and we'll get through the day. This is a really weird time. It's also the aftermath of the new moon. And there's just a lot of really creepy things going on, right? And things that mutant pigs are to missile their way Okay, see. So yesterday when I upload a video, or the day before, I get a chance to see the ads that Google is throwing at me, targeting me with Muslim dating. I'm not a Muslim. Even if they're trying to pair people up, it's like taking information from videos, things that they pick up from the computer, things that are said, private conversations. It's not good, folks. This level of categorization, especially when they get it wrong. And then you got to think about, well, what are they going to be doing with this information later on in time? So we can come back and maybe take a close. I just want to get through the delivery, though, of these stories. It's been a while since I've actually covered some stories. And so we're talking about targeted individuals. This really should be its own story because honestly, I think what is taking place with a lot of people is really an allergy to the machines around us. On another level, you have the supernatural. But on another level, I could show you how YouTube is promoting videos trying to convince you that your actual neighbor is in a gang stalking program or is gang stalking you. And, you know, one of the things that I'm picking up on is the increased paranoia. I think a lot of people think random people are gang stalking them just because they're like behind them. The level of paranoia that's taking place in like regular society is like fucked up. Seriously, I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk about another video. So we have to keep paranoia at bay when looking for the truth. You got to keep psychosis at bay when looking for the truth as to what's going on, why we're picking up on these things, why we're feeling so increasingly sensitive, picking up on these negative vibes. What's going on? Where are the negative vibes coming from? Whisperings from afar. So the point here is, you don't even need to read this. I mean, you've already been exposed now to technology news. about things that can simulate voices in the head. How is this helping? How is this helping? That's the point with that. It's like it's not helping. This is going to make it worse. Okay, let's just keep moving. Okay, so check this out now. We have this discussion about the Donald and recent State of the Union, and I did get a chance to listen to a few minutes. He touched upon a lot of issues where there's a lot of people that have a very solid opinion on those issues. I have no problem with pro-lifers. It's that people like Donald and others will use that as a sigil to get people's support. More or less, the point that I was starting to make in a recent video is it's the hypocrisy where I don't see enough pro-abortion people as well as pro-life people talking about these lives that are being lost around the world, right? I'm talking about on both sides, and how you'll see people come down to these rallies, and they'll fight each other. The American people will continue to fight each other, right? And it's sad to see that, but what about the other losses of life? So here's the point here as we get into the news. Google and the tech giants have been very much marginalized as keeping their brother down, keeping their brother Don down. But in reality, they've done everything for these men. And not just Donald Trump. Take a look here. You know, I haven't done a video like this where I prepare my screenshots ahead of time or my windows. I'm going to show you the numbers with AMTV in a minute. We have a recent video where he has 1.2 million views. There are people out there that have built up whatever it is that they are playing victim. And it's like a template, monkey see, monkey do. And I can go deep with this. I'm only going to spend a few minutes. And so there are people that see what Donald Trump's gotten away with and what he's done. He's also announcing, again, I didn't bring up this article, but talks with the Taliban in Afghanistan. And that was a moment to where people were coughing awkwardly in the State of the Union. There wasn't as much applause when he went in that direction. So like Donald Trump would play it up here or there, you know, it's like he's playing music. And literally the script, the way that script ended was like, I don't know, some Norse mythology scripture, like, we will conquer the unseen. We are the ultimate warrior. And, you know, he was really like, you know, trying to conjure that type of, we are the undefeatable, and just really just going all kamikaze with it. I'm not in the left-right paradigm. The things that I say are not there to prop up the other side. I speak for a lot of people that aren't saying anything. We live in a society where the real independent thinker is bullied out of existence. So the reality is, Google will hold some of us back for being true independent thinkers while promoting elements of the alt-right and then going, oh my God, what me worry? Or what happened here? What happened here? Oh, what an accident. And of course, blame it on the Russians without acknowledging what Google's done, what Facebook has done to help them. And now we're seeing the crackdown on the rest of us, but it's bigger than what you think. In another video, there's a guy that goes deep into social media as mind control. It is not coming from the conspiracy theory perspective. He's coming from human psychology, what it's done to us. That's a separate video. Okay. Google promoting Donald Trump's State of the Union address, which is set to take place Tuesday evening. Why is that notable? Trump accused Google of doing precisely the opposite in a series of attacks on the search engine last year, and I'm here to tell you those are staged attacks. In fact, Donald Trump met with the tech giants right after he was elected, or actually right before. And there could have been things that were said there, but there's a lot of ways in which social media drives public opinion. And people need to wake up to this. Christopher Green, for a fair amount of time, has presented himself to be a victim of Google. At one point, he showed himself in a photograph with Eric Schmidt and said that Eric Schmidt, it was odd because he changed his story multiple times. So in my commentary on AMTV, there's so much that I'll just put it out in chunks. So he showed himself next to Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google, maybe he's still current, bigwig at Google. Not exactly a burger flipper. Not exactly just a simple Google engineer. Eric Schmidt. and the rise to fame of Christopher Green, and how he seemed to be so good at picking headlines that have over the years consistently trended well. He's not really much of a trendsetter with his own ideas, even, or the theories. And the ones that are maybe original, they're very poorly put together, and there's never any follow through. It was done for the hits of that moment, and then he's off to the next, whatever you want to label it. In the early days, he would stand before the American flag to get your attention. Be more American. More Johnny Appleseed. He had the look. He's got the look. He's got the look. Probably a little too early in the morning to sing for you. But let me just try to keep this flowing with you. Let's take a look at the views. Let's take a look at Mr. Victim number 1. And then click on a few of these and listen to that, how he starts with the same intro, like 5 videos straight. Folks, click on the red bell. People are telling us they're not seeing our videos. Yeah, people are definitely not seeing your videos. 293,000 views, 279,000 views, 554,000 views. Like, get ready for a big event in the bathroom. Donald Trump, a big event is going to take place. And I'm not saying a big event is not going to take place, but when you look at it from this perspective, it's like making a farce out of the whole thing. Now, you know what I mean. Now, one of these has got 1 million on it. And so it's not about what people assume it is. When we look a little deeper at some of these alternative media organizations, I wouldn't want to be this big. But there's a reason why some people get this big. So it's not typical. With some people, it is typical competition. On the level of that, we are human. But what I see, there's something with this individual that does take tangible, real topics. And you can tell from the thumbs and the images. And over the years, you can also see the spin if you're worth your salt with regards to research and understanding really how things work. And so it can be almost soulless with some of these individuals when it's done strictly for that. So I'm going to complete this thought and move forward. But I want to make sure that you understand this. There are certain people that have built up their platform, or they've ridden the wave, if you will, in their own way, with regards to saying that they're a victim and capitalizing on that. So you can go over to Infowars.com, for example, and you can see the banned show. Well, it's not a banned show if it's playing legally from your website. In a way, it's all set up for Infowars to be bigger than ever. If you look at the subscribers at AMTV, some of us may have initially come across this individual when he just started out in 2009. So we've had a chance to see it before he deleted the old stuff. I didn't watch it on a regular basis, but I was aware of him for many, many years. Never met him, right? Just very brief. He made sure in what brief dealings we did have that I never got too close. And there would be things that would just blow my mind that are happening now in the real world that confirm my greatest suspicions. But here's the messed up element of being in my shoes. So you look over at this for a moment. There are no rewards when you're in my shoes for getting things right. It just makes people angry. Now, I can go on and on as to what I mean by that, right? But here we'll pause. We'll come back to those topics later. Here we will pause in observance of the powerful human spirit that in some cases will fight off a mountain lion. And I just want you to keep things in perspective. Our world is so gun-driven in so many different ways. And I remember having a strong interest in the martial arts and coming up against certain types of mentalities that were just attempting to defend yourself with your bare hands. Just maybe, some mentalities of my grandfather and others of that generation didn't seem to understand, right? But there was a time, folks, before the firearm, and some of us made legal mistakes. So we're not exactly able to do or have the luxury of what other people are able to enjoy. So I support your Second Amendment, but there's a reason why I'm not like nutty with it. And when it comes down to it, whether I live or die, it's whether or not I'm able to defend myself with my bare hands with regards to whatever it is. Sure, later on, I can maybe get some sort of, there are certain things that are allowed that can scare off wildlife. So later on, when I have more resources, especially if I'm living more remote, and maybe for other things, I definitely need to be more prepared for certain types of situations. So the way that I've been living, because I've really been sensing the spirit of the mountain lion around me. And I try not to, it's not so much a fear thing. I pretty much just let go and let God. There's that saying, we don't call 911. Well, that's my saying too, but it's really in the creator's hands. And I'm not a member of any religion. I have more of an interest in looking at like different mythology. I don't have this deep-seated fear of God sending fire and thunder up my ass for not bowing down and kissing thy ass, following one Abrahamic religion or something like that. That wasn't meant to be my path. My path, however, has led me into, again, a lot of different weird encounters in alternative media, weird encounters, it seems, with audience members from time to time, odd encounters with society, but it's never felt like I've been alone. I've even felt like, the divine nature that's been protecting me has even done some things to keep certain people away from me. Associations that would have been bad, right? There would have been times in which, it would have been decent for me, Alex Hansery, back in the day, to work with a whole number of individuals in person. Absolutely. I would have taken up an offer in 2009, 10, 11 with a lot of people. But it would be in recent years that I would be looking at the world much, much differently. Let's keep things moving. So I would stay true to things that I had been talking about for so many years, including a healthy distrust of Russia. Right? Not let's go at, no, I'm not pro military industrial complex, but Putin's not my daddy. And then when you get deeply involved, even straight up addicted, like I did to social media and all your human contacts being people that are receiving your content or just interacting with you on social media, I'll be straight up with you. I'm seeing a lot of mental illness come out of this social media complex. And I'll be straight up a pioneer then within the quote unquote alternative media in calling out how it's affected our peoples, our niche. And there's a number of different ways, right, in which I can discuss that. So I'll try to keep these moving, at least on the screen, so you can continue to absorb the information. But just in case you woke up from a coma and you were all like, Trump, 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 Trump. Okay, I'll stop now. So they're pulling out of the weapons agreement so they can have their mutual assured destruction. See, that's the Alex Ansary commentary that you're not going to get from others. Or maybe it won't be them or under their watch. Maybe they'll wait for someone else. Who knows? Okay, so let's touch upon this. Scientists have detected an enormous cavity growing beneath the Arctic. Now, hang on to your horses, because what we're going to do is go over this. And even though there's some language in this, like global warming, there's also people that believe in global cooling. Some people believe that we'll see a grand solar minimum. Some people don't think that'll be that bad. I'm looking personally at what's going to be happening with solar cycle 25 and how intense it'll be and its influence over geopolitical conflicts. But this topic of the magnetic north moving is way more predominant right now in the news, more so than I've ever seen it before. Hasn't been trending this high since 2011 that I know of. Talks about magnetic north moving towards Siberia. This is not a new announcement. It's the rate that it's moving that's going up. And at the rate that it's going up, and is this tied to other things as cosmic rays continue to enter our planet? So now we're looking at Antarctica. Let's scroll down. They write, it is not in a good place. In the space of only decades, the continent has lost trillions of tons of ice at alarming rates that we can't keep up with, even in places we once thought were safe. Now a stunning new void has been revealed amid this massive vanishing act. My physical computer screen is cracked. I can barely read what's on it, and I'm not yet able to upgrade. But I will continue to do what I do while what is visible is visible. A gigantic cavity growing under West Antarctica that scientists say covers 2/3 of the footprint of Manhattan and stands almost 300 meters tall. Researchers say the cavity would once have been large enough to hold some 14 billion tons of ice. Even more disturbing, the researchers say it's lost most of this ice volume over the last 3 years alone. So you're going to see more people cite this with regards to concerns about a pole shift and other things that could trigger something like that. Other signs that we still could see something pretty dramatic, unannounced, happen because we are still coming across all these different discoveries that are shocking scientists and their current trajectories for how things are going to go. We have manipulation, obviously, in the global warming arena, and there isn't even enough healthy discussion about the sun itself. I know that in my own experience. So things are definitely getting interesting. A little mention over here, and as I cover this, you know, there's some things that I like from others that I've seen over the years, and there's some things that perhaps that I don't. And people can get really quick to, get into groups and things can be perceived a certain way, for example. And I've known Mike Bluehair for a number of years. There's been things that we've agreed on and things that we haven't. But what I want to tell you now is that if you go over and you look at Mike Bluehair on YouTube, check out one of his recent presentations on what's taking place in Portland. Okay, and the activities taking place with the Proud Boys, despite what Antifa's done, people still do have rights in this country. And if someone's going to say, oh, Blue Lives Matter and law and order, then they need to be held to the same standard, not go demasking people and then leave it on your own mask. And so, listen, check out that video for yourself, then go over to Son of Hightower. Now, when you flip over and you watch, surveillance on Portland, Oregon, if you will, I'm quoting that term from the eyes of Robert West, understand he's rowing with the Proud Boys now, in a way. He does still go out and film the police, but he's not with Antifa. There is a place, you need to understand this, for cop watchers and others that aren't even necessarily cop watchers, but are videographers, to go down to these protests and film what takes place and to maintain a sense of objectivity to where they're not actually with both sides. And if you look at the way Mike Bluehair was slandered recently on Twitter, you'll see how he's attacked and put in this category of being with the Proud Boys, which is false. That's what the Antifa people did to Mike Bluehair in Portland. So people that are angry in their political ideologies, you know what I'm getting at, they can easily misidentify someone. So again, when that ad, by the way, pops up from Google and suggests to me Muslims for marriage, first of all, someone would have to be really dumb to join a website to be putting in their personal information at this point in time. So I would even raise an additional question, conspiratorial in nature. Thank you. Let me tip my hat as to who owns that website. So A, don't get on websites like that. They're just to collect information. Don't leave one aspect of social media for another. Two, who do you think owns that kind of a website? Three, right? Or C, what is Google doing making that type of assumption? And what kind of repercussions does that have on personal security later on in time? Because I see like a world of the Terminator open up in the real sense. In a way, in Afghanistan and Iraq, the world of the Terminator already exists. So when I see them catalog people based on perception of and other things, and they're cataloging data, and they're building data, they're building up their databases. What do we do later on when someone else comes in, China or others, and they use those databases for their own agenda? I mean, a massive surveillance society has been built all these years by what they've filmed through the webcam and what they've recorded audio-wise through their laptop, or your laptop rather, trying to cover a lot of different thoughts. And we're definitely going over the 10-minute goal point. But please join Patreon. We've had nobody join in recent days. We've had basically very little growth. I need your support, especially in these winter snowed in periods, months. Um, Please show your support if you appreciate these types of reports, where I go outside the box of what's going on with my deepest thoughts. I share those with you in other videos, but there's also a part of me that for years has picked his own news items. I don't go to rents and just see what. So what's the point here? The point here with the measles is this something that's going to lead to something else? It's obviously big time in the news. We're seeing this in the news right now. Measles outbreak in southwestern Washington rises to 50 cases. I want to show it to you while we're already talking about Portland, because I'm already seeing signs that there are people that aren't what they seem to be that are doing their own invasion of Portland. No Chinese or Russian armies needed. Like literally projecting outwards about others having people bust in while they're actually the ones busting people in. I find it interesting that this is also happening in the Pacific Northwest. Now it's Southwest Washington, but that's still close to Portland. Being that in 2007, they hosted Top Off 4. And I believe that part of that exercise was about a quarantine, right? So think about different scenarios, from war to terrorism to an outbreak, in which health officials are trying to quarantine a population. Think about 10 years ago, them practicing a quarantine of the Pacific Northwest, specifically Portland, Oregon. Now, right? If you're looking for even more unique OTBTV thoughts from the one and only Alex Ansary that you won't hear from someone else, in a world where it seems as if our brothers and sisters, can I get an amen, have no memories. Are you ready? Are you ready for it? Ted Wheeler, the same one that's nodding his head, bobbing along with Joanne Hannity, and I think that she may be a good lady. You know, I wasn't intending to be harsh in one of my recent videos regarding Portland. I'm not here to appease people for likes versus dislikes. Also, that is the pathway to mental insanity, with the bipolar split in consciousness. You either like, you either dislike, you're either Republican, you're Democrat, you're either conservative, or you're liberal. I mean, people are getting psycho with that stuff. Last but not least, looks like we have made it to our end. Okay, so we're talking about the things that are taking place. Okay, and we can add in the whole thing about the caravan, illegal immigration, a lot of hysteria about that. But look at Donald Trump and his Saudi friends. Well, it appears that the Saudi government helped the Saudi national escape Portland, Oregon. I never have known any of these personally. I've heard about them. Got an old friend in Portland named Yusuf. Shout out if you're still watching. I heard you left a comment last week. And Yusuf would talk about these arrogant SOB coming in with their Lamborghini Diablos, Saudi nationals that acted like they owned Portland back in the 90s. You know, act like, the princes would come in and, yalla, yalla, go to the nightclubs, get their rocks off. And, who wouldn't be a little resentful, that type of behavior? But yeah, a lot of these dudes run around with diplomatic immunity. Well, here's what went down. He hit a girl and she died. Uh, there is some accusations of reckless driving. So yeah, we'll go ahead and assume that it's criminal. And the Saudi government helped him make bail, and it looks like they have helped him escape entirely. And so when you have situations like this and you're faced with the symbolism of Donald Trump and the globe, because that's what this really is. It's the real truth about what's going on. And look at what they're doing to the people of Yemen. And so it's not so much just full blown, i.e., racism to all Middle Eastern people or Muslims, but selective. And look at the people that the Saudi government are killing in Yemen and their role in destabilizing Afghanistan. I haven't been on Saudi Arabia enough. I think some of this stuff is just obvious. I've talked about Russia. I've talked about the United States. I've talked about other things, but I want you to keep this in mind. So it's been a while since I brought to you different levels and pieces of information, and a lot of these, in a way, especially when you look at, again, reverse psychology, they say that they're being held down, and that they're being victimized. But when you look in reality, the idea of being, banned. And even if it's not actually true, held back by the man, folks, click on our little bell. People aren't being updated of our new uploads. and how even that type of salesmanship leads to views like that. So, it's really time that you wake up, if you haven't already, to the deceptions taking place on YouTube. If you have, like, say, somewhat of an interest in things regarding the supernatural or targeted individualism, you got to know something's up. You got to know something's up when you go to YouTube and they're suggesting you watch a video with 50,000 views, trying to tell you that your neighbor is in on it being paid money. No, the actual attacks on the psyches, on the cognitive functions of us and our people, it's increasing. I mean, you want to ask the agenda, what is the 5G agenda? For those that ask the question, and it's like it's deeper than where a lot of people take it. So I'm going to start doing this more. Please join Patreon. We're looking for more members. We have 18 people on Patreon right now. I would like to, at least by 40%, increase the support and start reaching my goal, because it's going to become more important for people like me to become more independent from what AdSense we have been making on YouTube and to make some sort of a leap. I'm open to looking at some sort of a free website. I'm not going to get involved with crypto. I'm not doing BitChute. Uh, 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 I follow my inner hunch when there's something not right with certain websites. This includes DTube. This includes other websites that are no longer up, that used to be video tube sites. I look at all the uploads that I did over the years to various websites, even podcasts to others in the alternative media that aren't with the tech giants, small guys, oraclebroadcasting.com, American Freedom Radio, things of that nature. I've lost a shitload of content dealing with websites by not backing up my stuff. And that's really the main goal at this point, is to back up my stuff, but to look beyond the social media nightmare. And let's say that we have a little bit more time on the internet. People like myself may have some additional time to grow our audience on our own platforms, our own newsletters, our own Patreons. And to be frank, I want to believe in a future. I want to believe that we have more than a few years. And for me to be able to continue going deeper down the rabbit hole with you, that includes reading about world mythologies. That includes telling you elements of my own personal life story, even on other platforms other than YouTube, because that stuff's pretty deep. And so there's a lot of me that I want to enjoy continuing to share with you, but there is, if you will, the laser pointer on the wall. We're seeing the signs of the red laser on the wall. We're going, oh shit. We're going, oh shit. And really, I just want to kind of find an exit with this, kind of like a Jerry Springer, Alex Ansary, end of the news pod. We got to keep some of this fear at bay. We got to realize that there is an element of psychological warfare, and it's been delivered to us. I mean, hell, let's take a look at Alex Jones as an example. And let's take a look at those so-called good years of Alex Jones that I'm willing to give him. But let's actually take a closer look at his supposed good years and take another look again. All of that yelling, all of that fear, all of that, ways of presenting it in a completely apocalyptic context, to where we do nothing and we take out our anger and stress on the so-called people around us that don't think like us. And it's like, that's absolutely what he's manufacturing. So check out Mike Blue Hair. Check out his most recent video on the goings on in Portland. Think about the things that I've warned you about for years and connect the dots for yourself. I'm Alex Ansary, signing off.